Hi everyone, Comic Reviewer here. This time reviewing on The Flash, issue number 212. Now as you know, this was meant to be the second run of The Flash after the events of Crisis on Infinite Earths, where Wally West was the Flash for the time being. And much like with new replacements, we did eventually get a new Mirror Master known as Ian McCulloch, who was meant to be basically Sam Scudder, but with a Scottish accent. And the cover mainly has, Mirror Master making copies of himself. So let's get on with the story. So it starts off how, at Keystone City, we see some FBI agents going in to try and find Mirror Master. We see how Mirror Master uses his mirror gun, and of course turns one guy into a sort of mirror, shatters him, and one of the agents comes face to face with Ian McCulloch, aka Mirror Master 2. And we are basically see how Mirror Master makes quick work of the second government agent. And Mirror Master's origin starts off where he was dropped off at an orphanage by his birth mother, and where the caretaker, Miss McCulloch, looked after him. And we see how, Ian McCulloch got to enjoy a good life, but had to deal with a dangerous psychotic kid known as Georgie. And we automatically know that Georgie is kind of like this really deeply disturbed and really evil kid. And we see how he tries to take Ian McCulloch to do something questionable. And of course, in his anger, tries to protect himself, knocks out Georgie, and basically ends him. And this is him knowing that he's helped kind of save the orphanage from him. But of course, as soon as he turned 16, took two things: Miss McCulloch's name and a picture of his parents, but making sure to keep sending money to the orphanage to make sure it still runs. Anonymous, of course. And we see how, over time, Ian McCulloch becomes the best hitman in the UK, taking out a number of targets. And of course, we see how back at the present, Mirror Master takes out more of the kind of government agents, trapping them in the sort of mirror world. And we see how, he makes his way to London, and after basically a butched fight, we see how he has to wear an eye patch for a time and setting up for his next target. And as soon as he realizes, he sees to his shock and horror that the person he was sent to kill was basically his long-lost father. And turns out he was now working as a real estate agent, and things were rough for a time, and it's kind of implied the only reason Ian McCulloch's parents never really had any more children was probably because of not wanting to make similar mistakes. And we see how, after his mum goes back to her house, and after a few weeks and months, he decides to have the courage to try and answer her. But he realizes to his shock and horror that her mother basically ended her own life, and sees to his shock and horror the mess that he made, and finally wants to escape reality. And after being eventually found out, we see how he's eventually given the first Mirror Master's gear, who, if you do remember, Sam Scudder was killed during Crisis on Infinite Earths, so Ian McCulloch is basically Sam Scudder, but with a Scottish accent. And we see how he now dons Sam Scudder's gear, and eventually would go to take on the second Flash, Wally West, and making a big name for himself, and even teaming up with the other rogues. And we see how, he makes his way to the Postal Service, leaves a sort of post to Jesse James, who was at the time working as an FBI agent, with basically a reformed Heatwave, and sends him a sort of post containing a glass mirror with some other rogues. And after making his way back to the rogues' headquarters, he basically has his plans tonight without playing a game of cards with the rogues. And yeah, much like any sad, lost, and miserable person, Sam Scully uses basically cocaine to try and escape reality, showing just how, yeah, he's like a scared, sad, pathetic child, using things as a coping mechanism to escape from his own traumas and problems. And this is the story. So I think this one is actually not too bad, but not too epic. Like I said, I think the point of Ian McKellen is that he's like what I think most people will be. They'll use things as a coping mechanism to escape their problems, or kind of pretend to be in this make-believe world, then facing the reality of it. They'll use things like writing, RPGs, fantasy stuff, also books and all that, or sometimes it can be more serious, like alcohol, drugs, and so on. So it's definitely a readable story, definitely good, so it definitely deserves a thumbs in the middle. Kind of alright, but kind of okay. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.